That's what the martyrs scream. Let me tell you from a gay perspective.
Hey y'all, it's Joefer, the cranky old gay guy. And on today's episode, we're going to be covering the Great Replacement Theory. The gays will not replace us. The gays will not replace us. That's right. You've probably never heard that chant, but you have heard the chant, the Jews will not replace us. That's right. All across TVs in America, just, a year or two ago, maybe 3 years ago, when white supremacists marched on Charlottesville, North Carolina, carrying tiki torches and signs that said the Jews will not replace us. Well, I put the gays in there just because why not? Once you get rid of the Jews, what's the next obvious choice? Gay people. But that's not what this is about. This is about the Great Replacement Theory. And what it is a theory that immigrants come to this country, non-whites, and their entire reason for coming is to eliminate whites, to denigrate the white race, to take over, to make whites the minority. Okay, let's do a little timeline here. The theory was espoused and repopularized by Renaud Camus, C-A-M-U-S. First name is R-E-N-A-U-D. I'm not going to give the name of his book because I don't want to promote that, but if you're interested, you can look that up. He is a French author, and that book came out in 2010. He buys into the conspiracy that there are replacist elites in power who want to destroy the American economy and other Western civilizations. This did start in France, and it spread across Europe before it jumped the pond over to America. They want to destroy the current situations or the economics, the politics, how the countries are run, and they want to have corporations run everything and have cheap labor. And the immigrants are what are creating the cheap labor. By coming in and destroying the white race, everyone's going to be at a poverty level. And you'll have to work for these big mega oligarch corporations that are going to rule everything. So that's the theory. He calls them, what did he call them? They're not just elitists. They are, it will come to me here in a minute, and then I will bring that up again. So back to the timeline. In 2010, he writes this book. Some of the things he espouses in this book are that darker skinned people have more children. Thus, they will overtake the white race. It's going to lead to the extinction of whites. Well, studies show that there are more whites now than ever before, and they still are more than people who are non-white. This spread across Europe, came to the United States. Immediately was picked up by white supremacists because they like the idea that they can now have something to support their views on why immigrants and non-whites should not come to this country. 2015 to 2017, that's when the right-wing media has really picked up on this and started promoting it, and it kind of infiltrated into being one of the main talking points of the GOP. Historically, this has been going on for decades. It just wasn't as prominent. We now have the internet also that helps spread these theories. Now, in the past, white was really up for discussion because in the early part of this country, or the 1800s, Italians, Jews, Polish, Italian, or I already said Italians, Polish, Jews, anyone from Europe that wasn't Scandinavian was not considered white. And they were looked down upon by the white elitists here. Chinese immigrants came to this country, West Coast, built the railroad, or helped build the railroad. Looked down on because they are also non-white. The slaves that were imported to the United States that built the economy of the South and much of the East Coast, seen as less than human. This is not a new thing. It's been going on in countries all around the world forever. It's just that it really picked up speed when right-wing media outlets started using it to persuade people that immigrants were terrible and that they were going to be the downfall of society. Now, oftentimes, you'll see on media, they will say, oh, well, immigrants hate us, or the left wing hate us or they hate us. But you have to ask yourself, who's the they? Oftentimes they're looking in a mirror, much like someone who's the leader of this country will say things about other people when in reality, if you look at the facts, he's actually talking about himself. Everything that he finds distasteful in others are traits that he himself carries and promotes. Okay, the theory's main points, the biology of destiny. And what this means is that you are born the way you are born and you can't help it. It also means that non-whites genetically are inferior to whites. They do not have the same brain capacity. They do not have the same cultural abilities. It also states that in the biology of destiny, that you have innate traits that you cannot change. That people who are non-white are more prone to violence or more prone to adultery. Now, all of this has been proven lame. And even the measuring of brain sizes to determine if someone's smarter than someone else. Some of you might say, but Joefer, look around. Whites have achieved so much more and had so much more success than people of color. Well, that is not based on your brain size or your genetics. That's based on institutionalized and systemic racism that is built into the fabric of this country. It was built in to make sure that whites are elevated above anyone else. And immigrants, since most of the immigrants to this country are not Scandinavian white, they are discriminated against. Okay. That's biology of destiny. Another theory is that whites are brave because they speak the truth. And you won't find these liberal non-whites and immigrant supporters speaking the truth. That is just a belief that is part of this theory, and I don't get it, and I don't know why that makes whites special because they're brave to speak the truth. They're spreading lies is what they're doing. Things were better in the past. That's another thing that is thrown up quite a bit with this theory, and we will see that being played out even today in our political system. When you hear "Make America Great Again," you got to ask yourself, great for who? Much like this, things were better in the past. They want nostalgia. They want Norman Rockwell paintings. Well, everyone in those images are white, and all the successes were for white people. So when they say "Make America Great Again," you have to ask yourself, who is America being made great for? Is it for everyone? Or is it just for the super rich? Or is it just for whites who see themselves as being better than people who aren't white? Just something to think about. White men are being taken advantage of. That is another trope that is part of this theory, in that whites are so kind and open that immigrants take advantage of them. I don't see it. However, we do have someone who is leading this country who says that about foreign nations all the time. These trade deals are terrible. They're taking advantage of America. The United Nations is terrible. It takes advantage of America. The European Union, it was designed to screw America. Again, they will say anything, and this theory allows that, say anything to promote the white race over everyone else. Now, the leader of this country has just grabbed that and twisted it a little bit to fit his narrative, to support his decisions to drive our country into economic ruin and ruin the reputation of our country around the world, and to not honor treaties and contracts, and to give special financial favors to the super rich, and to play in everything that Putin wants, give him everything, and to play into Putin's trap and pretty much tank America. And I know that's not the great replacement theory, but what they say is going to happen when you have immigrants tanking America, Well, immigrants aren't what's destroying America right now. It's the political leaders that we have in Washington, D.C. Again, these are my opinions. That is not based on any scientific study. That's just my interpretation. Diversity causes conflict. Everyone should be the same, or it's just going to cause problems. Well, is that true? No. What causes the problem? The people who want to be in a homogeneous group refuse to accept people that are outside of that group. That's where the problems and conflicts come from. Much like gays in the military. Well, straight soldiers don't want to shower next to gay men. Well, who's got a problem with that? The straight soldier or the gay soldier? Because if you are a male and you have showered in any high school gymnasium or at a gym that you work out at, you have showered with gay men and you might not have even known it. So right there, it's a scare tactic. It's the gay panic. Don't buy into it. It's BS. But the diversity, and that's what I say, gay would be diverse when put in a group of straight men. Hence, the diversity issue comes to play there, that's going to cause conflict because, again, it's not the immigrant or the person that is the outsider that is the problem. It is the main group that always causes this conflict. Whites who support diversity are race traitors. That is another big part of the Great Replacement theory, that if you support immigration, you are a traitor to your race and you don't belong here. You don't deserve to be white. Bunk, 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 bunk. Okay, things to look out for. To know that you are dealing with someone who is supporting this theory. If you are watching something about immigration, and almost all of the stories are going to be about immigration because that's what this theory really pertains to, and they bring up IQ studies. That's the replacement theory. They're pulling pieces out to support their narrative. They bring up Karl Marx. He's always mentioned in this as well. Why? I'm not a big student of Karl Marx, but he has shown up in every article I've read on this theory, so I'm guessing that he had similar beliefs. Open borders. When they talk about open borders and then how there's an invasion going on, not immigrants who want to live here, not immigrants seeking asylum, but an invasion. What they're doing is reframing the story to make immigrants into scary monsters. Now, someone who is currently leaving this country did that when he ran for president the first time, when he stated that immigrants, Mexican immigrants to be specific, were rapists and they were going to harm you. If they mention that immigration is going to poison our blood, that is about as racist as you can get. And that's also a part of, it's going to tell you that they believe in this whole replacement theory. Someone currently in power has mentioned how immigration is poisoning the blood of America. So it's pretty evident that he supports this theory as well. Now, if you go back to Germany in the 30s, everything that I have mentioned here was happening there. Hitler was a big proponent of the Great Replacement theory, and he found scapegoats in everyone who wasn't blonde, blue-eyed, and white. He did make exceptions for Germans with dark hair because, it was Germany. So not only did he play on genetics, he also played on religious beliefs to make people into others. Not to mention the fact that he came down on gays and lesbians really bad too. The first to be ousted were trans, and then it moved on down the line, but that's something in the 30s, and we're not talking about that right now. If they refer to immigrants as invaders, they buy into this. If they are showing you images to support their point, but they're out of context. Like they're going to show rioters attacking police and say, these were immigrants in downtown Boston attacking police because one of them got arrested for jaywalking or something. Well, do a reverse image search on that picture, and oftentimes you will find that it has nothing to do with that. Instead, it has to do with a protest march that went bad in Buenos Aires, Argentina. I think that's where Buenos Aires is. But anyway, oftentimes pictures are used out of context to support the message because they think no one's going to check. And oftentimes the true believers don't check because they just listen to the rhetoric over and over and over again because it's repeated on right-wing media incessantly, and they just buy into it. They condemn diversity and multiculturalism. Well, that's what DEI was designed to counteract. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. It is to make sure that when someone is hired or promoted, they are hired on merit, meaning they are the best candidate for the job, and it's not based on other factors such as the good old boy network or cronyism or the fact that they're not white. So when someone is condemning DEI, they are most likely also somewhat buying into this great replacement theory. Part of it. But when news stations or media curate an interview or curate a story, and they only cover the things that support their point of view, like they're talking to Bob who's running for Congress. Bob is pro-America. Bob is made in America. Bob is God loves America. But what they're not saying is that Bob is also been cheating on his taxes. Bob has had 3 wives and he's cheated on all of them. Bob is currently under financial distress and is a prime target for blackmail. Bob is on the take. Bob was impeached from his last political position. And these are things they just leave out because that doesn't fit into the story that they're trying to tell. So be on alert for those kind of things as well. Jump to another media source to see what they're reporting on, preferably not the same politically leaning resource. Blames globalists, elites, establishments, deep state, new world order. When they bring any of that into a conversation to support their point of view, well, there's a good chance that they are into conspiracies and they are in support of the Great Replacement theory. When it comes to immigration, when I say stories, I'm talking about immigration here. Also, they'll say things like, well, people are saying, someone who is the leader of this country right now tweets that kind of stuff all the time and says it in speeches. It's like, they tell me that so-and-so did this. They tell me egg prices are coming down as just like, oh, they're going to be down by the end of the week. Well, in actuality, he's been saying this for weeks and weeks and weeks. And egg prices did come down in price just this week, like 2 days ago. The thing is, he didn't address it like 2 days ago. Instead, 2 or 3 days ago, he was saying, enough about egg prices. I don't want to hear about that anymore. And he said that, or something to that effect, in a live interview. He's all about egg prices, but then when he hears about it and people complain that they're too high, he's done with it. He doesn't want to hear about it anymore. So, when you hear people are saying it's a cover, tell me which people are saying. Who were they specifically? We only speak the truth. Or, I'm just asking questions. I'm just asking question is used by Joe Rogan a lot. It's used by Piers Morgan a lot. It's used by senators and congressmen a lot on both sides whenever they want to push something that they know is not true or that they cannot support with facts. They will say, well, I'm just asking questions. Well, what they're really doing is trying to poison the mind of the people who hear this. So they'll start thinking about, well, maybe he's right. I mean, he's just asking questions, right? Well, Do immigrants really want to replace us? Well, he wouldn't say it if it wasn't true, would he? I mean, he's just asking questions. Just think about those things. Or, lastly, they will say, you are overreacting, trying to imply that you have a closed mind because you don't believe the way that they do. And it's a bully technique. It is. What they're trying to do is intimidate you and have you back down. Okay. They'll also say the truth about immigration is, the real history is, yeah. Oftentimes they'll support that with memes to drill that point home. And again, memes are often just photos that they're spreading online, are often taken out of context and have nothing to do with the story at hand. Okay, things white nationalists say, or what I like to say is, you might be a white nationalist if you say, in regards to immigration, immigration is a plot. It's a conspiracy. They again, are out to get us. Well, ask yourself, who's out to get us? Immigrants? Politicians? Who? They're outlawing Christmas. This has been a big one ever since Trump got in office years ago. And I've heard Republicans say it over the years. What they do is they try to pick up a cultural thing that they can really spread, that everyone can relate to, and then that becomes the story, as opposed to the story they don't want anyone to focus on, like tax breaks for the super rich. So there are times that they will say, well, liberals or people who support immigration are trying to outlaw Christmas because these other people are coming in and they don't believe the way that we do. Well, we're not going to let that happen. We're going to make Christmas the official American holiday. If we allow immigrants to continue, there will be no more white children. That's one. They're going to get you, or they're coming for your wife, or they're coming for your kids. Back in the day, when women were treated as possessions by men, that was a big thing. That you don't touch my woman, she is mine. You don't touch my kids, they are mine. There was a time, not so long ago, in the 70s, when women couldn't even have their own credit card or bank account in their name. They had to have their husband's name. There was a time when there wasn't anything like no-fault divorce. You had to get your husband's permission if you were a woman to break up that marriage, and then you had to go before a judge, and the judge had to determine whether he would allow you to get a divorce. Women have been crapped on and treated as property since the beginning of time. Back in the 1800s, after slavery was abolished and the vote was given to all men, women couldn't vote, yet men who were treated as 3/8 or 2/3 of a human being, because they weren't given a full vote, because they weren't white. Women weren't given a vote at all. And that has nothing to do with the Great Replacement Theory. It just came to mind, and it was so wrong then, and it's so wrong now, that women are still treated as possessions by a lot of men, and the incels you see online who feel that a woman's place is in the home, breeding and servicing her man in any way that he wants, and that she can't have a life of her own or her own thoughts or opinions, and she shouldn't be voting. Again, that's not the Great Replacement Theory, but this led to that, and it issues. It gets under my skin. All right. Lastly, when people say things to you about immigration, whether they be supporters of this replacement theory or not, ask yourself the following questions. What is the point of this story they're telling me? If you're seeing it on the news or if someone in person, what is the point? What outcome do they want me to have? And if it's steering you towards replacement theory, question it. Do follow-up questions. Ask where they're getting their information. Find out why they want you to believe this. Make sure that things are in context. If someone shows you a series of photos, let's say of Crime. 7-Eleven being robbed by people wearing face masks, but they have darker skin. They might present that to you as illegal immigrants robbing a 7-Eleven, when in reality, that is just a standard holdup that happens every day in this country by people who were born and raised here and who are Americans. Look for red flags. If something in a story that you're hearing or a news article you're reading sends up a signal and you say, well, that doesn't seem right, well, there's a good chance it's not right. So look for those flags. If you have to go online, read around it. Don't believe everything that they're telling you. Resist methods of persuasion. And this is where the rhetoric goes in. There is someone in power right now in this country. I know, I keep coming back to him because he's in my life 24/7. Every time you turn on the news or a radio or you hear a conversation in a grocery store, it's about this thing. And what I was going to say is rhetoric. He will say something that is blatantly untrue, but he will say it over and over and over and over again, and he can be corrected by those around him many times, and he still says it over and over and over again. And eventually, he says it enough times that he believes it himself, and the people who follow him start believing it. When he says that people in this town who came from Haiti are eating your cats and dogs, and that you need to be wary of them, and he repeats this over and over and over and over and over again, even though it was proven to be untrue. And he was corrected on that by many, many people surrounding him and said it's not true. He still went on national television and said it again. Okay, that has nothing to do with replacement theory, but it does have to do with how through rhetoric they're slamming immigration and getting people to move closer to the whole white replacement thing and thinking that whites are better than everyone else. Now, I fully support immigration, and I don't think it should be cut back. I think it should be increased, and I think it needs to be revamped, and I think there should be methods put in place that if someone wants to live in this country, they can apply to live in this country, and they can be put on a program step by step to actually achieve that. Now, will there be background checks? Yes. Will there be safeguards? Yes. Will there be, checkups? Yes, to make sure that everything is going to plan. You don't just let anybody in. You don't open the border and just let people across, because you're going to get a lot of crime that way. Why? Because there are criminals in every country, and they're going to be people, if they think they can make a buck, they're going to do it. If that means coming to another country and messing things up for everybody else, they're going to do it. But more money needs to be put into immigration. You need to hire many, many more immigration judges. You need to move courthouses, portable courthouses. You can do this with those double wide trailers they use in schools. Set up numerous ones at every major and minor town that is on the American-Mexican border. House them with judges. So when people come in and they apply for asylum or want to start the program to start the steps to coming to the country, they aren't given an appointment and turned away to come back months and months later, but they can be seen relatively soon. Have more of those trailers set aside on the border, so when people do come and they do have to wait, they have a place to stay. Increase the number of public defenders, okay? Because they aren't paid a lot, but pay them more and have them move to the border to help facilitate immigration. Push in law schools dual languages. I'm not, if you'll notice, I'm not saying put trailers on the Canadian border, because that is not a big travel corridor for immigration, which the United States is calling illegal immigration. United States as in the people in Congress. because everyone doesn't call it that. It is immigration, plain and simple. And there are laws that if you are seeking asylum, you get to seek asylum, you get to claim asylum, and you get a court hearing. Unfortunately, a lot of that is being pushed back or canceled, or you're tied up for 2 or 3 years waiting for that hearing. And what does that person do in the meantime? It's inhumane. It's not something that should be happening. I don't think that people who want to come to this country should be spat on. Remember, there is a saying that the United States, it's on the Statue of Liberty, bring us your poor, your indigent, your suffering, blah, 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 blah. They want you to come here and build a good life, a new life, and be part of this country. If we would promote, we as in a country would promote immigration, welcoming arms to immigrants, not only would we be better in the long run, but we'd have a more balanced population. You'd have a lot more skills, a lot more diversity, a lot more interest. I think that everything would go up. The economy would go up. People are afraid that immigrants are coming to steal their jobs and they're going to work for pennies. Well, that's not on the immigrant. That is on the employer. There are laws that state you have to pay a specific wage. If that is not being done, again, that's on the employers, not the immigrants. So when the ICE comes in and raids a business looking for immigrants, what they should be doing is coming in and looking at payroll and seeing what those immigrants are being paid. And if they're not being paid the wage that is guaranteed by law, then that employer is the one who should be taken away. Maybe not to prison, but taken into court and fined and forced to pay the wage they're supposed to pay. And this is way off topic, soft subject. I mean, it's way off in that it's not great replacement theory, but it does deal with immigration. And immigration, it's a tricky one. I could speak for hours on immigration and my thoughts on it, but that's not what this video is about because we are running way long. So I'm going to let y'all go now. Please, in the comment section, let me know your feelings on this subject. I'm sure that a lot of you won't agree with me. Like, subscribe, share, tell your friends about this channel because without viewers, there's no channel. So keep it up. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.
Oh, the gays will not replace us. That's what the martyrs scream. Let me tell you from a gay perspective, that's never been our dream. First they said the Jews will not replace us, and then they moved on down the line. Then they were all anti-transgender. The gays are next, it's only a matter of time when they will scream. The gays, they won't replace us. No, we won't let them replace us. Oh, the gays will not replace us. No, that will never, never be. As a gay man sitting here on the sideline, watching the marchers shuffle on by, I can say that we'd never want to replace you, as we don't want to see all you big boys cry. Just leave us alone, but treat us as equal. There's no reason to chant, no need for a sequel. But they still scream, the gays, they won't replace us. No, we won't let them replace us. Oh, the gays will not replace us. No, that will never, never be. So you're feeling like you're not getting attention, that you're not getting enough praise, that you've been marginalized by society and forced to live in a rainbow haze. The gays, they're not your problem, and your beliefs, they cross the line. You think the gays will replace you, and what's yours will become mine. And they shout again, the gays, they won't replace us. No, we won't let them replace us. Oh, the gays will not replace us. No, that will never, never be. They light their tiki torches and march into the night. We stand on the roadside watching as they try to pick a fight. The The march is saying, God we trust, but I don't believe that's true. If it really was a trust in God, the marches they'd be through. There's no need to continue marching, as you know God will provide. So there's no reason for you to fear the gays, and no reason for them to hide. They wanna make us into the other, make us responsible for all the world's ills. But the way they react to outsiders, it brings nothing but chills. Oh, the gays will not replace us, they chant as they march until dawn. Oh, the gays will not replace us, we'll live on and on and on. As a gay man sitting in my living room, I can tell you what I see. I see a bunch of misguided men marching across my TV. Oh, the gays, they will not replace you. That's not it, that's not it at all. Those gays, they don't want to replace you, they want harmony. But that's your call. Oh, the gays, they will not replace you. That's not it, that's not it at all. Those gays, they don't want to replace you, they want harmony. But that's your call.